Let's welcome in our man James Ham of the Insiders. Hammer, Kings basketball is back tonight. There's been all sorts of debate all day about the direction this team should go and what they should have done and what they shouldn't do. Me, I'm excited for the season.
Yeah.
I'm excited basketball is back tonight. I recognize there could be some moments where it looks a little rocky, but I'll wait for those moments to get here. Hopefully, those moments don't begin tonight, Hammer, because I don't think Phoenix is very good.
Yeah, I mean, as much as the Kings have problems, so does the Phoenix Suns. I mean, the Phoenix Suns don't have a true point guard. You know, they're down Jalen Green. They have some sort of savvy vets to go along with, Devin Booker and the potential like Mark Williams, and they have some nice things, but they're also a team that underwent a gigantic change over this offseason, and we don't know what that's going to look like for them either. I think they're in really they're not nearly as talented as the Kings. They're not nearly as deep as the Kings, but the Kings are also missing two starters walking into this game, and they just signed Russell Westbrook like 5 days ago. Like, we don't know what this Kings team is going to look like, and so we'll have to see how the cards play out.
Do you look at this team and think that there's any how do I put this? Do you see a pathway where they get off to some type of hot start? No, I mean, when I say hot, I mean
5-5,
7-3, something like that. Do you see that, even though they don't have Keegan Murray for a little while? Hopefully they get Sabonis back real soon. But like, I think we talk about like the doomsday scenario with this team, and I can see that. I can see where it's just a rough start to the season. Does anybody, and I'll ask you, see a scenario where it's the complete opposite?
Yeah, I think we did an interesting exercise yesterday on the podcast, and I'll do it with you guys right now. Like, what do you think is the most wins this team can get this year? Like, what's their ceiling, in your opinion?
46.
Yeah, I'm 44 to 46. That's where I've always been.
Okay, so I said 46, right? What is the floor?
I say 30.
An honest floor. What do you think it is?
Now that we're dealing with stuff already, like for me, I still find some of these numbers outrageous. I'd say 38.
Oh, wow, that's really high. Okay,
Is it?
so
God, that's just crazy to me that's high.
I would say the floor of this team is more like 31 or 33, like what Kenny said. But that's the floor. That means that injuries hit and bad things happen. I just like, there's a pretty wide like swath here between, like, I'd say between 14 and 15 game, like, plus or minus. Like, we have no idea what this team is going to be. Kyle asked me earlier, if you could get 2 and 3 out of the first 5, would you take it right now? And I said, no, I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. I heard you say that. Yeah.
Yeah. The first 5, I mean, you need 3 and 2. Like, just looking at the teams they're playing, you need 3 and 2, and you can possibly get 4 and 1. So that's where you should be aiming. You should be aiming for 4 and 1. And if you don't, like, that's where, like, this is going to get pretty ugly, because it doesn't get any easier after the first 5. Like, I've talked about this for a while. The first 19 games are ridiculous. The first 5 aren't that bad. It's the next 14. One of those games is OKC, and one of them is on the back-to-back after you play OKC. But that was the other point that I was making to Kyle earlier, is that just look at the schedule. Like, any game that you think could be at least a little bit lighter, almost every single one of those games is on the second night of a back-to-back. Outside of these first 2 games, you look at Chicago, you're like, okay, they can beat Chicago. Chicago's the night after they play OKC. You look at Atlanta, you're like, Atlanta's a good team, but they're still young. They're still figuring things out. You might be able to get Atlanta, right? Especially at home. You're playing at home. You're playing OKC the night before. It feels like every single time you have a game that you might be able to get, you play OKC the night before. And so, like, really, the schedule is difficult. And I don't know how they'll fare, but if they somehow come out of the first 19 games at 10 and 9, I think it's like game on. like this thing is going to go well. Like they're going to be in it this season. And it, as far as a playoff team or a play-in team, if it doesn't go really well, like I won't be surprised, number one, but then it's like it's going to be scramble mode the whole time. And then we're going to look at January, going to be like, okay, if they get to this point and they're not this far away from 500, should they be sellers or should they be buyers? You know what I mean? We're going to start questioning, at what point do you start to like piece this thing out, or do you add? And so I don't know what direction the season's going to go. And I feel like there is such a like huge disparity between what a good season and a bad season would be for this team. And so we just kind of got to figure out what they look like, at maybe every 5 games, like Dave Yeager used to do, like check in at 5 games, check in at the second 5 games, and see if they're improving, see if they're not, and if they're in trouble or if they're still swimming. And I definitely think that we'll be able to know quite a bit about this team, not just in the first 2 games, but in the first, 5 or 10.
Does it matter how those games look? Like if I think you said 10-9, we could this thing could be go positive. Does it matter how those games look?
No, like for me in an 82 game schedule, like when you're this type of team, when you're a 500-ish team, maybe a little above, maybe a little below, to me, like just win, figure it out. If you look great for a stretch and you're clearly on a path, but you keep coming up a little bit short, maybe I would change my mind a little bit, but there has to be like clear evidence. You remember a couple of years ago when the Beam team won, right? Right away, they came out of the gate and they weren't hitting 3-pointers. And I like they were just a little bit off. And I told you guys right away, like this team is on the cusp of being something crazy, because if they just have this one little thing go right, if they just start hitting a couple more threes, they'll have one of the most explosive offenses in the league. I kept saying, like, look at their offensive and defensive ratings. They're projecting out as like this really, really good team. I don't know how, and it doesn't make any sense because they just put that team together. But you could see the advanced statistics were showing you that they were better than their record. They were better than the 0-4 they started the season. So now you start, kind of figuring out how they're piecing things together this year. We won't know right off the bat unless, again, they just get clubbed 2 games in a row right off the bat and they don't look good against the Lakers. They lose by 40 to OKC, and then they don't put a good showing up against Chicago the next day. We'll be like, okay, this is going to be like a long road. But I do think that there is room for positivity here.
Yeah. I was just stuck on the spiral, right? Like losing by 40 to OKC. They didn't lose they didn't lose the 40 to champions when they had DeMarcus Cousins and John Salmons. That's not going to happen here. But they do. I agree with Hammer and everybody else. They do need to take advantage of this early stretch that they have of winnable games, and more so when you talk about winnable games because of injuries, not necessarily because the Kings are a good or a bad team, but you're dealing with injuries. You're not going to have Sabonis for the first 2 games. If you can find a way to get those 2 wins or get one of the first 2, I look at that not only as you're starting 1-1, but you're able to keep yourself above water while Sabonis is out. Same thing with the other 3 games of that stretch, and any game that you have that Keegan Murray isn't out. If you can get that game or while Keegan Murray is out, if you can get those games while you're shorthanded, that'll kind of set you up for when you get past that tough stretch and things start to settle down a little bit. Plus, you'll start getting guys back.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I get that, but injuries are such a huge part of the NBA. I mean, again, you're playing Phoenix tonight without Jalen Green. They'll probably sit Lauri Markkanen on Friday just because they want a better draft pick, even though it's the second game of the season on Friday. Maybe not. Maybe he'll play, but let's be honest. LeBron James isn't playing on Sunday, and when we get to OKC next week, OKC might be without Jalen Williams still, and when you get to the Bulls, they may be without Kobe White. So, like, there are reasons you lose games. There are also, like, at some point, there are excuses. Like the roster isn't built correctly to withstand the loss of Keegan Murray. I get it. But that's an excuse. You had 4 months to figure out how to have a backup that could play the 3 and the 4. Like, so I get it. Like Kenny, I understand what you're saying, but these other teams are going to be shorthanded too. Not every team is at full strength every single game. And, it's a bummer for the Kings to come out of the chute without Domas and without Keegan, but that's the game. It is.
There's probably so the other side of that is like, is Phoenix very good? Like, we don't know. We're guessing. We're making proclamations and all this stuff. We're doing that with the Suns. We're doing that with the Kings. We're doing that with all of these teams. But I think there's something to be said if the Kings win tonight. And I know Utah is bad. If the Kings go 2-0, and you do that without Domas and Keegan and hell, even Isaac Jones, just for depth purposes tonight, like, yeah, that should breathe a little extra life into Kings fans. It should breathe a little extra life into the players. Like, yeah, like we're up against it already, and we had a response like this. DeMar told us during training camp, but we weren't there. Told you. I think it was media day. Yeah, like, I don't like the way this team is talked about. They act like we don't have talent here. Stop short of saying we're not the Charlotte effing Hornets. Like, we've got a squad here.
Right.
And it's like those are all great things to say. Now DeMar and the rest of this team. Russ said something similar when he was introduced to the media on Sunday. He said, I love how everyone doubts this team. Okay. Well, everyone has said that. Now we've got to go act on it.
Yeah, that's always the question. How do you respond? And like I again earlier with Kyle, we were talking about the way that Shea answered the questions last night after the game. Like, that was a perfect answer. Like a guy who just won the MVP and an NBA championship said, "Hey, we didn't shoot the ball that well, but we hang our hat on defense, and that's how you sustain. That's when shots aren't falling, when things aren't going your way. If you still play really hard defense, you still put yourself in a position to have a shot." That's where like Doug Christie's trying to instill all this stuff into them. I just, again, you hope that they have the players. They have talent. They have offensive talent all over the place. But do they have a cohesive unit? Do they have chemistry? Do they have the necessary pieces to space the floor and to defend anybody? I think it's going to be a work in progress the entire season. But like, again, I don't think the Kings' ceiling as a defensive team is to be like a top 10 defensive rated team. Actually, I don't think there's any way. Like, even to project them to be anything better than 18, 19 is probably being generous. And if they somehow got up to like 15, that would be a mild miracle, like just by judging at the pieces that they have in place. So, like, a defensive scheme can help those things, but at the same time, like, this team has got to go out there and find an identity very quickly. And they also have to figure out how all these pieces work together. I mean, I don't know how the trio of Dennis Schroeder and Malik Monk and Russell Westbrook work together. And they're going to have to figure that out on the fly, like, really quickly, or it can look a lot like me ball. Like, everyone gets to take a turn, I guess, and maybe they don't. Like, this team has got to find like who they are, and identity, and sort of a spirit about them, like, very quickly.
Yeah, to what both of you guys are talking about, to Damien's point, I mean, there's just, what I would deem, if I were them, a lot of disrespect going around. It's one thing to be critical or cynical of a team and, hey, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. It's just disrespectful to, a few different top flight players' careers. And if I were them, I'd be pretty pissed off going into this game. I'd be pretty pissed off going into the season with the way that people have talked about this team, talked about those individuals. Yeah, I'd be pretty hot if I cared. And that's the question. That's a legit question. Do you guys care enough to do something about it? Do you care enough to shut people up or prove them wrong? And I think that's going to be one of the biggest questions to this season, especially the early part of the season. while still fresh in everybody's mind.
Yeah, I get that, but what I haven't seen is a lot of disrespect aimed at DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine or Russell Westbrook or Dennis Schroeder or Domantas Sabonis. What I have seen is a lot of disrespect at the collective, and that's different. You know what I mean? It's not like someone saying, "Oh, they got a whole team of washed guys."
They
No, they're
said
saying,
they said those guys will make Sabonis retire. That's disrespectful to
well,
guys that have achieved more than him in this league.
To
I'd
be
be
fair,
pissed
a guy
off.
say that. A guy
True.
said that.
That's true. That's fair.
well, yeah, but I mean, like,
It's
I
hella
think
funny when you say it out loud. They're gonna make Sabonis retire early. That's amazing.
I also like when I watched the post game last night. Chet Holmgren decided to like storm the set, right? Which was fun. Everyone was excited. Like Chet's like,
That's
all right,
true.
I'm gonna go over and hang out. I'm not sure why he decided to do that without a shirt on.
Yeah, put some
Um,
clothes on.
put some clothes on. But then like he's standing right next to like three guys that are one who's in the Hall of Fame and two that will be in the Hall of Fame. So you've got T Mac, you got Vince Carter, and you've got Carmelo Anthony. Like this is kind of the point. Like Chet Holmgren is the one with a ring. The other three aren't. Individual accomplishments, they're fine, but it doesn't matter if you can't play as a team and if you can't figure out how to win. And to me, like they're all looking at his ring and then they open the ring up and there's a ring inside the ring and all that stuff. But like that's what we're talking about. It's not that the collection of talent is bad. It's that the collection of talent is mismatched. And it's just tough. It's tough to win when you've got it's not like we don't have a track record with these guys. Like between, you know, DeMar DeRozan and Russell Westbrook, we're talking about this is like they're going to have 35 years of NBA experience. We know exactly who they are. We know exactly who Zach LaVine is going into year 12, exactly who Domantas Sabonis is going into year 10. It's not like people are like taking shots at like again individual players, but like we kind of have seen these players with with each other, with different versions of the players that they're going to play with, and you see how it works sometimes and how it doesn't other times. Like being a team, I think OKC is the ultimate like design of a team that like it's a version of a team that's going to work really well for a couple of years where it's defensive minded and they all slot into very specific roles. And I don't know how you slot the Kings players into specific roles yet. And I'm gonna have to see how it works. But that's a huge question mark. Like again, how does Malik Monk and Russell Westbrook and Dennis Schroeder work as like a trio that might play in the backcourt, either together at times or as a trio, like or as just two of them at one point? Like, how do those guys function? How does that group function? How does Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan function when we've already seen that, not just last year in Sacramento, but for 3 years in Chicago? There are like plenty of things that would lead you to believe that some of the pairings that they have are not going to work together. But then again, it's a coin flip. We have no idea what the entirety of it's going to look like. And so I'm intrigued for sure. But, again, at this point, this roster looks more like something that you would put together in 2K and try to figure out. And that's not usually how, sustainable winning happens at the next level, at this level.
I disagree a little bit with the shots that have been taken at, the collective versus
There's
the
been hella
individuals.
individual shots,
Yeah,
like hella of 'em.
especially now that Russell Westbrook is here. I did take a look at something just a minute ago, Hammer, as you were talking. I don't know. I don't. I'm. It's just this. It's just numbers, and I'll bring them to you. DeMar DeRozan is entering his 17th season in the league, so he's played 16. Of those 16 seasons, DeMar DeRozan has made the playoffs 7 times. Again, just a number, giving it to you. Russell Westbrook is entering his 18th season, so he's played 17. Of those 17, Russell Westbrook has made the playoffs 13 times.
I think he's made it 9 in the last 10.
This group has played winning basketball before. Zach LaVine has played once. I don't know how many years Zach LaVine has been in the league off the top of my head. I just
11. This will be year 12.
But so whether it's 11 or 12, the number for him, I think, is just 1. And he did that, obviously, with DeMar a handful of years ago. And DeMar has been on Toronto, San Antonio, and Chicago. He's made the playoffs with all 3 of those teams. It's just the idea that these guys play a brand of basketball that doesn't amount to winning is absurd. It's absurd with DeMar DeRozan to me, and it's absurd with Russell Westbrook to me. Now, Hammer, to your main point, how does all of this work together? I don't know. That's Scott Perry's task. That's Doug Christie. Doug Christie's task is to figure out how this works together. Mm-hmm. Scott Perry's task is to recognize if it's not, what he's going to do and how quickly he's going to do it. But I just really dislike the narrative that these guys don't play a form of winning basketball.
Yeah, I don't I'm with you. Like, there's plenty of playoff games amongst those players, but again, it's about how do they all fit together, and a team isn't about who can collect the most guys who might make the Hall of Fame. That's not, again, if it was, the Clippers would have 5 rings. That it's just not the way that it works. You've got to put players together that actually complement each other and fit together. And again, it's why, again, I think you had 4 players standing up at the podium, at the desk yesterday talking. 3 of those guys are literally Hall of Famers, and one of them isn't, and one of them has a ring and the others don't. It's not about who's the best player. It's about who fits together and how you make a complementary roster. And again, I'll say this, the Beam Team won. The Beam Team won didn't have success because it was just some crazy out of nowhere, how did this work? It was because they had all kinds of complementary pieces that worked together. Did guys shoot above, their career averages here and there? Sure. But if you're going to have Domas, you surround him with long and athletic shooters. We can talk all we want about how Kevin Huerter fell apart in the final 2 years here in Sacramento. He's a 6'7" starting shooting guard who in the first year with the Kings shot 38.9 or something from 3. There are ways in which players fit together and ways that you can see a team lay out that will complement each other, and then ways that they don't. And we're going to have to see if these players can figure out ways to complement each other. But it does, I'm left with questions about, again, a team with most of their rotation are low 30% 3-point shooters. That's tough. It's just tough in the modern NBA to keep up like that.
So I'm with you, Hammer, but I'm leaning a lot closer to Kevin Huerter had the season of his life here.
Of course.
I did not feel that way 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel that way today.
I just want to respond to something when we get back.
Okay. Kenny's going to respond. That means he's going to fight with you, James. So just be prepared. What Kenny just said is when we return, me and James are going to fight. So it's the battle of the century. It's the fight of the century. James Ham and Kenny Caraway. Of course we're fighting on opening night. Why wouldn't we? The Kings and the Suns. We'll talk more with James Ham when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. It's kind of weird seeing the ESPN logo up there. I kept looking up there. They're doing Inside the NBA, Hammer. I'm sure you have it on in front of you. They're doing Inside the NBA. Oh, and the TNT logo is gone, and there's the ESPN logo, and it noticeably looks funny.
It's same people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. Everything is exactly the same. It looks exactly the same, except there's the different logo. That's all.
Yeah,
it's Joe.
Show.
What? Say that again.
As I've been listening to, it's the same exact show, just on ESPN.
It's the same show. Okay.
It's Joe Montana in the Chiefs jersey right there in front of you.
Yeah.
You're like, it's almost the same. Nope, it's not the same. That's not the same. That looks weird. What's happening?
It looks weird.
That red logo. You almost, it felt like you didn't see no colors on the thing when they were with TNT. It's that red dot.
And that Popeyes is digitized, right?
I
That's
think
not
so.
real.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think that's
Or is that on the
their-
screen?
on their
On the
that
desk?
set, yeah.
Oh.
I think that's there because that can change. I believe. Could be wrong though.
After all of that, Karl Anthony Towns is playing tonight.
Of course he is.
What'd you say?
Oh God!
You got come on, dude.
After all of that,
That was pretty good.
thank you. I think I was more Casey impersonating Karl
Cat,
Anthony
if you'd
Towns.
like to join the Impression Academy, just let me know.
Oh my God!
It's not bad either.
Guys, I wasn't gonna play today.
Is that your
Dan's
cat
working on that
voice?
one.
Huh?
Is that your cat voice?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Like you said, it's a little mix of Cat and Kevin.
He just really, really likes the drama.
Just sent him
Man,
to Milwaukee already.
Josh Hart is a monster, man.
Is he playing
Josh
too?
Hart is built like no.
Oh.
He's one of the greatest
Hart is-
rebounding guards we've ever
He
seen.
is. Josh Hart to me is like built like a basketball player.
Mark Robertson, you are really, really hoping this team is horrible.
I'll let Mark be unhappy.
Yeah.
Everybody do what you feel you need to do.
Mark Roberts says, I'm super happy. All right, Mark. Good for you. Good for you. Hopefully you're wrong and there's no. Hopefully
think
you're,
he's
you're
just-
wrong. There's no.
He's just really angry that it's Mark with a C and not Mark with a K.
No.
Feels like he's been led
Oh, Mark's
astray
good.
by his own parents.
Mark is definitely not alone. There are a lot of people who think this team is going to win a single game.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
Like I've been saying, this should be a great season.
Oh,
for
what are they
everybody.
doing? Why did Shaq just throw a bunch of money on the table?
Because he's Shaq. That's
What
his.
When is he going to be on Inside the NBA via Sacramento, California? Sorry, guys. I'm here at Hornet Gym. Live via satellite.
We're back. I don't know what's going on the TV, but the NBA on TNT or the NBA on ESPN or ESPN tip-off, whatever this show is called now, it's back because Shaq just appeared to have thrown several thousands of dollars onto the table.
Ernie,
Are they
Chuck
Shaq
wearing-
dollars?
No, they were real. No, that was money.
Ernie, I've got NIL for you to come to Sac State.
Yeah.
Can you dig it?
Just real quick, how do we feel about Charles's suit?
Wouldn't be my first choice.
It's
But
very busy.
Also,
It's very busy for television.
also, Charles doesn't. It doesn't feel like he tailors his suit. So
I'm pretty
that
sure-
doesn't help either.
Charles just said that Joel Embiid and Paul George are making the All-Star team this year. So
He
that's
said
where
Paul
that's at.
George too?
Yeah, so that's where we're at right
Oh,
now.
Chuck is back.
And yeah,
Chuck is back. I think you know what a stronger take might have been is I don't know if Paul George is going to play before the All-Star game.
that's what they were yelling at him about.
That was a stronger take right there.
He's already ineligible.
Him too.
Oh man,
I can't.
I'm
wait to
glad Joe's playing tonight because I absolutely did not think he would be.
I didn't know when we was gonna see Joel Embiid.
We'll see him tonight.
That's
I
good.
retired him like 3 different times this year.
Yeah,
That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I see some things going on in Philadelphia.
You do?
Yeah,
Besi-
if Joel can play and he's healthy, let's say Paul George is healthy. You got
He's
Maxey.
not.
Well, I'm saying like when he gets healthy. Like if this is just
He
like
plays the rest of the season healthy.
yeah.
Okay.
And you get VJ Edgecombe, who looks like he might be an
Mhm.
all rookie selection.
Mhm.
Jared McCain is coming back.
Mhm.
Tyrese Maxey. I don't know what I see,
Mm.
but I see something.
But isn't that it? Aren't they going to run into the issue? Well, I guess Denver got super far last year. I feel like you're going to run. And maybe you don't need that much depth in the Eastern Conference this year. So I don't know, maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's something to it. Do you want me to leave while you fight James? Or
Not going to fight James.
you wanted to respond to something and you
never fight James.
You
Never
look like
fight
Perk
James.
talking to L. Duncan a second ago when he was getting ready to lay this out. Stop looking at James that way. It's terrible.
So no, James was talking about the set on the halftime show of NBC yesterday with Chet Holmgren with his championship and Carmelo, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady, who didn't win anything, even as championship wise, even though they were Hall of Fame players. And the only issue I have with that outlook is, to a certain degree, that implies that they did something wrong in their career and Chet did something right to win. And my outlook on that would be like, Chet, you didn't have to do the things that we had to do. The person that can come up to me face to face and say, like, I figured out how to do it before you is SGA, not Chet. If you were asked to score 25 a night and the defense lock in on you every single night and you wouldn't win a championship. Like if you take SGA off that team, take Jalen off that team, and it's Holmgren's team, like it was Vince in Toronto, like it was Tracy in Orlando and Carmelo, he ain't gonna have no ring to show him. And that's the thing that happens with guys like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan that kind of gets looked at in a negative light. Like we've said it before, and James agrees when I say this. We look at Zach crazy if he scores 14 points in a game. We look at him like, bro, you are awful. Like, what was this? What was the story last year when he had like 14 on 5 of 7 against the Warriors, and we're like, you had a bad game. He's like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and we were looking at him crazy. We were like, what are you talking about? That's like I think that gets devalued, what those guys are able to do. And I think it gets devalued here in Sacramento with this particular team, DeRozan and LaVine, and what they're able to do as far as scoring wise.
You talk about luxuries. Imagine Domantas Sabonis having 7 rebounds in a double overtime game.
And then talking to the team, talking to the post game.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did have 28 last night, though. Balling.
Okay, so my rebuttal is this. Everybody has a job at the NBA level. And yes, like there are stars that get paid a whole bunch of money and they have their responsibilities to score every night. But that doesn't mean that whatever DeMar DeRozan does as a scorer each and every night is equal to or greater than what Keegan Murray does as a defender or what Domantas Sabonis does as a rebounder. Like everybody has a job, and some of the guys out there, they have this really cool job that they get to get rich and famous because they score the most points. But it doesn't matter. Like Scotty didn't win rings until he had, Michael Jordan didn't win rings until he had Scottie Pippen.
But it does matter, yeah. It does. Well, that's why I say when you guys devalue this, it does matter. That's his job. That's what he does. And when you say it doesn't matter, that's not true. And that's not fair to those guys. They're doing
it doesn't matter more than what other people do that is just different than scoring. It doesn't. Like
I agree with that. Like when you say it doesn't matter, like, all right, more is now the word now. Like I get that and I understand that. But I think it gets devalued when it's like, yeah, you score a bunch of points. Like, so what? They score a bunch of points because those other guys can't.
No, they score a bunch of points because that's a hierarchy of their team. Like, I mean, like, look, there are players around the league that score points. I mean, Cam Johnson is playing for the qualifying. Cam Thomas is playing for the qualifying offer because all he does is score, and he's even gotten better at other aspects of the game that's kind of getting overlooked. But like, look, I think that there's a certain amount of pressure that comes with being a high end scorer, but like every single one of these dudes was the highest scoring player on their high school team and the highest scoring player on most of their college teams. Like that's who when they get to the league, either you figure it out or you don't. And what you can't do is go out and get a whole bunch of pieces that their main job is to score and then ignore all the other aspects of the game, because that's not what the game is about. That's why Oklahoma City won the championship last year. They got a bunch of rando dudes who play defense as hard as anybody has ever seen. Like in the modern NBA, they are a really, really good defensive team. They've got one top tier scorer, and a second really, really good scorer. But like if you take away those guys, you can find other players that score. Like you might not have the MVP, but at the same time, like man, there are guys who score 20 points on bad teams forever, and that's fine. The Kings used to be a team where guys never had a great year in their career, and they come to Sacramento and they score 20 a game, like Antoine Carr, Rodney McCray, Wayman Tisdale. Like there's a whole group of them that came through Sacramento as like either busts or like guys who just weren't working out in the NBA. And chances are those players were really good where they were before, but there were better scorers above them on the depth chart who got all the shots, and they don't. And so I don't know. Like my point is that when we were watching that interview, it takes a Chet Holmgren on your team. It takes like the players who are willing to sacrifice some of what their scoring ability to go play defense and rebound and block shots and do all the other things other than score if you hope to win championships. And for me, I don't think it's disrespectful to say that the Kings have a whole bunch of guys who are known for one thing primarily. Like Russell Westbrook is an outlier with this group. He's one of the biggest like multi-stat stuffer guy that we've ever seen. He's a guy who averaged a triple-double 4 seasons in his career. But like DeMar DeRozan is a scorer, Zach LaVine is a scorer, Malik Monk is a scorer. Like you keep getting to this point where it's like, how many scores do you need when you don't have anyone that can defend? You don't have anyone like without Domas and Keegan Murray on the team. Who the hell is going to rebound for this group? How are they not going to lose by 15 rebounds per game? And if we match that with the fact that they could lose by 9 to 15 points on the 3-point line with the same group, like that's how you lose games. And so that's where fit in the NBA means so much. Having 5 players that fit together. And again, that's why Beam Team 1 worked, because they all fit. You had, again, even Malik Monk coming off the bench. He's like the closest facsimile to Bobby Jackson we've ever seen in Sacramento. But he brought something different and mixed it up. That was his ingredient that he changed, that added something different to the Kings outside of the fact that they surrounded themselves with all of their 2 stars with great shooters. And so like that's my concern with this season. It's not that they don't have talent. I think they have tons of talent. It's just at what point do you have to have the other aspects of the game actually matter? Rebounding, blocking shots, playing defense. Those things matter. And that's why most of the NBA outside world has this team winning 35 or 36 games.
I agree 100%. My issues, once again, I think you devalue the scoring. And also, because Melo, Vince, T-Mac never played with a Chet Holmgren, that's not their fault, or they didn't do something wrong not to have a championship. You know what I'm saying?
But I didn't say that.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just making a statement. They didn't do something wrong not to have a championship. This year's Kings team, we'll just use Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. We can use DeMar DeRozan last year. DeMar DeRozan didn't do something wrong to make the Kings not be good. They just didn't. They didn't have the pieces around him. Just like we talk about with Sabonis, they didn't have the right pieces around him for the team to be successful. Nobody looks at Domas as you did something wrong or your game wasn't good enough. You don't play defense. You don't protect the rim. That's why they lost. The answer for all that is always, oh, we got to put people around them. Why don't we put people around DeMar DeRozan? Why don't we put people that complement Zach LaVine? You know what I'm saying? Like that's am I wrong to say that's not the narrative? Like that's the talk of like they're losing because of DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, but Domantas Sabonis, they need to put the right players around them. Why isn't it that the other way?
Yeah, I don't remember saying that the
I'm not
reason
saying
why they're losing.
You're not the narrative. I'm talking about the narrative. Am I wrong to say that is not the narrative when people talk about the Sacramento Kings?
Well, it's part of the narrative, but I would also say this: like, Domantas Sabonis is a perfect fit with Zach LaVine. He is. Like, we've seen it so far in preseason. Like, if Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis are given enough time on the court, they will create a two-man game that is very difficult to stop. And you have a great rebounder, a great passer, and you have a great scorer at all three levels. That's great. Now put the other pieces around them. Like, I'm not saying that they can't build around Zach LaVine. But if you're going to have Zach LaVine as your number one, going out and getting a defensive minded point guard like Dennis Schroeder is one thing. That's great. But now you need 3-and-D guys at the 3 and the 4, because it doesn't matter how much better Zach LaVine gets at playing defense or Domantas Sabonis gets at playing defense. They're never going to be, plus defenders in the NBA. They can be league average. They can be around league average. But, again, like, it shouldn't be that difficult to find a shot blocker to put next to Domantas Sabonis. It shouldn't be that difficult to put some of these pieces in place, but it has been for this group. So, and I don't know if it's vision. I don't know if it's that they don't see basketball the way that I see basketball, and that's fine. We all have our different opinions on how we see basketball, but I'm watching, you brought up, like, well, if you took away SGA from Chet, he's not winning a title. Okay. If you took Chet away from SGA, SGA could very well just be Luka Doncic, who wins a bunch of games, but doesn't win the whole thing. Like, you need all of these pieces to be successful, and it can't just be clones of the same person that you're trying to run out there and hope that that's going to work.
Okay, just making sure your philosophy on basketball might not be different than the front office, and I would never ever ask Kings fans to be patient. That's absurd.
Mhm.
I will say your vision, what you feel basketball or a basketball team should be, Hammer, might align perfectly with Scott Perry, but he's only had 5 months to execute his vision. And
Yeah.
that's the really unfortunate part about all of this is probably the most unfortunate part about this is, you're riding high off of the Beam Team thing a few years ago, and now you're just, for the last couple of years, it feels like you've been you were certainly chasing that the following year, falling just short. It felt like you fell miles short of what you did the year prior, when in actuality you fell a couple of regular season games short, and then the postseason went the way that it did, and then last year just being a complete mess. But because the Beam Team is still in sight, because Domas is still here, because Malik is still here, because Keegan is still here, because there's elements of that still here, you wonder, like, what can you get out of this group? And the fact is, like, none of us know. We can all, guess, lay our predictions, do all of that different stuff. But the fact is, Scott's still trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And his runway is not going to be very long. His runway is not going to be very long because this fan base is going to get frustrated. His runway is not going to be very long because we've seen how this owner operates. And that sucks too. So he's going to, like, I think it was Maddie earlier who said, I want to see what direction this is going early. Buy, sell, all of that stuff. Do we get to see the rookies? Like, what do we see? I want to see that pretty quickly. Scott's probably not going to be afforded that. You might not find out by February, but Scott better find out by April. May, June, July. He better have an idea then, because whether LaVine is here, whether DeMar is here, you can't run this whole thing back. And I refuse to believe that if you're trying to trade Malik Monk is suddenly completely untradeable. I don't buy that. Everybody can be traded in some way, shape, or form. Everybody can make a deal. Everybody can find a rim protector. Everybody can find a need, except for Charlotte, Washington, and Utah. They can't. But virtually every other team in the league can find their needs. The Sacramento Kings have to start functioning like a regular NBA franchise and find those pieces that they need. But it starts with what we were talking about earlier. And James, you were the first to bring it up. It starts with direction. You have to pick your direction, and you can't change your idea of what your direction is in 2 years. because that's people ask like, we've got to try something different. We've got to try something different. No, we just have to try something for longer than 2 years. It's been this constant start over cycle. It's been this constant Vlade's vision, Monty's vision, Scott's vision, Delisandro's vision, Mike's vision, Luke's vision, Alvin's vision, Doug's vision. It's Scott and Doug now. You guys better figure it out, because I don't know what the next reaction is going to be from this fan base, but I don't think it's going to be good. I think this fan base will always be highly engaged with this team. That Golden One Center, it'll be real easy to go sit by where Kenny sits if they don't figure this out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And, like, look, I think, we've all heard the one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch, right? And I think in the NBA, like, you can get a bad apple that's just a bad person that comes in your locker room and destroys everything. That happens. But I don't think that that's, like, in NBA terms, what it really means. Like, one piece can go the wrong way and change the entire look and feel and everything of your team and take you from where you were to where you are now, which is not a good place. And again, it's not a blame game on any specific person or player. It's that you have to be so cautious when mixing ingredients, or when you're putting apples in a barrel. You got to make sure there's not a bad one in there that's going to change the complexity of everything and spoil the bunch. And again, I'm not trying to place blame on any one person, but what you can't do is continue down the road of that stuff and then try to band-aid fix everything. Like, this is not the moment to go death by mid-level exception. It's not. It's not the moment to go, again, like, this isn't a shot at Dennis Schroeder. This was not the time to go and get a $14 million a year point guard that's 31 years old. Because you can have that, or you can have 3 $5 million players that might help you more. And that's where you have to sit here and constantly be watching that you're not the team that's chasing to try to get back some glory that's already gone and you don't realize it yet. And so I hope that this group, number one, I hope they get out of the gate fast and they play well together and they find chemistry and find some sort of kismet. And all of a sudden, boom, this team is flying and we're all having a good time covering this team. I do. But I also know that, like, there's a reason why the Kings are in the place they're in right now, and you have to avoid those situations. And so I'm hoping that, this is a cautionary tale that they learn from, that you don't just make trades to make trades, and that you don't just change things to change things. Like, choose a path and stick to it. Like what you just said, Damian, choose a path, stick to it. And, again, players come and go, but, like, systems and designs and the stability of a franchise can last for a long time in the NBA. It doesn't have to be disposable. And that's what I always feel like this franchise over the last 15 years, it's just disposable people. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not the way to build. Everyone wants to be the San Antonio Spurs, where they, for like 39 out of their first 40 years in the NBA, they made the playoffs. And they're that way because they have stability. The Pittsburgh Steelers throw up a 500 season every year because they've had 4 coaches in like 500 years. Like, that's stability. And that's what I'm hoping that they figure out right now. It's like, land on an idea and stick with it.
I know for this particular season, we talked about earlier, I need to find out. We talk about dogs, we talk about people who have heart and all this other stuff. I need to figure out who took all that stuff to heart, all the disrespect, all the naysayers, so to speak, and felt some type of way about that. You can talk about it, you can complain about it all you want. You actually have an opportunity to do something about it starting tonight. And was what DeRozan said or Westbrook said or anybody else said, was that all just talk? How disrespected you felt? How pissed off you were about what people had to say? Was that all just talk? Or are you going to go out there and actually, with your actions, try to do something to change that perception or that outlook that people have of you? You got an opportunity. The time for talk is done. You can get out on that court and you can change people's mind that way. And we'll see if they're committed to doing that as a group, as a unit.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Because tomorrow could be a long day.
Please, for our sake,
Well,
don't do that.
we'll have power rankings.
Which were supposed to be today.
And in support, I don't know if you did this exactly, but in support of Russell Wilson finally standing up and verbally laying a smackdown on Sean Payton, we will no longer have the Russell Wilson rankings.
Sean Payton is such a miserable human being.
Jackass.
What an awful there are guys who are like, hey, yo, this person's a jerk. Sean Payton just seems like a guy who is just terrible. Just not a good person. Kevin James, what were you thinking? What was Kevin James thinking?
So yeah, there will be no Russell Wilson rankings.
Where you at tonight?
I'm at Sky River tonight.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't say anything because I genuinely didn't know.
I'm at Sky River tonight for the Coach's Corner show. We talking tonight. It ain't gonna be no like clickbait stuff or nothing, but we're gonna talk about it. This is a big game coming up. It's been a busy week with Montana on deck. So we're gonna be talking tonight with Coach, man.
Yeah, and of course, in the midst of all of that other nonsense, like that Montana game's on ESPN Friday night.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the
7 o'clock Sky
Corner.
River. If you can't get there, it's going to be on ESPN 1320 as well. You can have the.
You're not doing anything else at 7 o'clock, so what's it matter?
Well, you can have the game on TV. Turn the volume down. Listen to the Coach's Corner.
Or you could go watch Kenny at Sky River and probably watch the game on the 70 TV screen.
We're at 32 Brews. Yeah, we're at 32 Brews.
There it is. Coach Marion will also be with us here tomorrow. I've never understood why he does that, but I'm really thankful he does. 2 coaches shows here on ESPN 1320. And then, of course, we'll recap the Kings and the Suns.
Yeah. Season's here.
Will we hear Young Zell? We know it'll be the same song because he hasn't given us a new one.
The classic, though. The classic.
It is a classic, and you run the hits, man. The question is, will we hear it tomorrow? We'll find out. Beginning at 10 a.m. with the Insiders here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
Vamos Kings, light the beam.